In this video, we will be examining the environmental and social impact of the tobacco industry. We are all well aware of the health issues associated with the consumption of tobacco, but what about the harm the production of tobacco products inflict on the environment and those who cultivate the crops? It is important to examine this aspect as it doesn't only affect tobacco users, but all of society. Welcome to my presentation about the environmental impacts of the tobacco industry. We will begin by examining the agricultural impact of the industry on the environment, which includes pollution, land degradation, deforestation, and the emission of greenhouse gases. Tobacco is a monocrop, meaning that it is the only plant to be grown in the field. The lack of biodiversity puts the crop at a higher risk of becoming diseased or overrun by unwelcome insects and animals. Because of the vulnerability of the tobacco, the crops require an abundance of pesticides and herbicides. Brian Farrell's article, Tobacco Stains, tells us that these crops may need up to 16 rounds of pesticide in their 3-month growing period. These chemicals can contaminate the soil the tobacco grows in and poison local water resources such as lakes, rivers, aquifers, and more. Because tobacco is a monocrop and the tobacco fields aren't rotated with other crops, it fails to properly protect the soil from erosion due to wind and rain. This costs the land valuable nutrients and makes it unsustainable to other plant life. The irresponsible farming practices of failing to rotate crops in combination with soil erosion can result in the desertification or infertility of the land. Another reason that tobacco agriculture causes land degradation and soil erosion is the deforestation associated to make fields and to use the wood for tobacco curing. As many as 1 in 8 trees that are cut down yearly are felled for the production of tobacco. That's 12.5% of worldwide deforestation. Deforestation also reduces biodiversity as it robs the animals of necessary resources. More importantly, deforestation causes an increase of up to 20% a year in greenhouse gas emissions. Clearly, deforestation is the largest source of CO2 emissions caused by the tobacco industry. But we also have to consider the transportation of the product when we consider emissions. However, an interesting contributor to the industry's emissions is the adaptation of the practice of using coal rather than wood to cure the tobacco. Ironically, this practice was adapted to combat deforestation rates. As this course in green criminology has shown us, there can be no environmental effects without human consequences. The harms that the tobacco industry poses to humans include a detriment to worker health, poverty, and even food insecurity. As we discussed previously, tobacco crops use a myriad of pesticides and herbicides. The workers who apply these chemicals suffer many illnesses as a result. Symptoms of exposure can include psychological illnesses such as depression and anxiety, and even physical symptoms such as respiratory illnesses and symptoms that mimic those you may see in a person who has Parkinson's disease. There is even an illness known as the green tobacco sickness that presents in a similar fashion to heat exhaustion, including nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and fluctuations in blood pressure. It is caused by the absorption of nicotine through the skin from handling tobacco. Other people who may be impacted are the communities that surround the crops. The people who live near these monocrops also face risk due to local pollution. Unfortunately, those who are most at risk include children, elderly people, and pregnant women. Though tobacco is considered to be a cash crop, those who farm it often profit less than those who raise other crops, especially when you examine the cost of crop maintenance and the hours worked. This can be contributed to the contract smaller farms enter with tobacco corporations. Contract farming gives the manufacturers of tobacco products control over all aspects of farming. The industry may also systematically undergrade the product in order to pay the farmers less. This type of control and manipulation often results in the farmers failing to profit. These farmers often find themselves in debt to tobacco firms due to hidden costs that are deducted at the end of the contract's duration, thus creating a cycle of impoverished conditions. As these tobacco manufacturers create contracts with the same farmers who are in debt to them as they profit from the product, they are financially gaining from middle and lower class people. Those living in countries that rely on income from the tobacco industry may find themselves in a crisis. Food insecurity is becoming more and more prevalent in these areas as tobacco crops replace crops for food, such as rice and vegetables. The loss of food sources has also been contributed to the degradation of land caused by tobacco farming. Another factor contributing to the issue of food insecurity is the method that some farmers are using to cure their crop yield. As wood fuel may be scarce due to deforestation, some farmers resort to burning fruit trees and rice straw to cure their tobacco. There is also evidence to suggest that the tobacco farmers themselves suffer the most from food insecurity caused by tobacco farming due to a lack of fertile soil for food growth and the low wages earned from tobacco firms. As we've learned, the tobacco industry profits from its farmers thanks to its use of contract farming. As these corporations benefit financially from exploiting its farmers, it also evades accountability for the harm that it inflicts on the environment. So how do they do it? Through extensive campaigning and lobbying measures, the tobacco industry, including companies like Philip Morris, has successfully gained political power and influence. Additionally, they support political candidates who will make decisions that benefit the industry. This power over politics allows the tobacco industry to influence how agricultural chemicals are regulated, much like the text Agribusiness, Governments, and Food Crimes discusses. Additionally, these political connections allow the tobacco industry to contract their farms and thus exploit the laborers growing their products. To conclude, the tobacco industry inflicts environmental harm, as the industrialized growth of tobacco causes land and air pollution, the degradation and desertification of land, a significant percentage of deforestation, and the industry significantly contributes to the emission of greenhouse gases. In addition, the industry has impacts on worker and community health, local economies, and even the food security of people from areas that grow tobacco. The industry, through wealth and lobbying, has gained significant political power that it allows it to proceed with its destructive practices without being regulated. Most importantly, the tobacco industry profits wildly from the exploitation and harm of the environment and social groups. I would like to thank you all for your time, and I hope that you've learned something important about the tobacco industry and its impacts on environmental and social health. My name is Brandi Moore, and I appreciate you listening.